for me, moving to Italy ended up being a huge opportunity because now brands are paying me significantly more than I was making as a landscape architect. Last week, I got paid to go to Rome, and I was at the Roman Forum, and I was just filming myself going around Rome. And I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is so cool.
All right. This is the Story Series podcast where we tell the stories behind the people. Ambika Mathur, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm really excited to talk to you. For those who don't know, I like to just read a brief introduction. You are a model, actress, and host whose story made global headlines when a trip to Italy changed your life, and now it's being adapted into a TV series. I'm so excited to get into all that with you. I like to go back and just connect the dots a little bit. So if you could, where did you grow up?
I'm here, born and raised in Southern California, but I have an international background because my parents are from India, and then I have family all around the world.
You do. And so, but you grew up here in Southern California. When you were growing up, were you always like creatively inclined? Did you always have that performer's bug?
I was always creatively inclined. Actually, is it left hand or right hand? Brain, or is it left brain or right brain? The one that's the creative side.
I wish I knew. That is a great question. I'm left-handed, so I always get it confused.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so
yes.
when I was growing up, I was like the awkward, nerdy Indian kid, and I was super uncoordinated at sports, but I was really good at creative things. I was always painting and playing piano and reading, and I was in my own imagination world.
Yes.
Getting lost all the time. My parents couldn't bring me anywhere. I just always get lost at the mall.
Right. That's
daydreaming.
Scary. Right, yes. So, and if someone asked you at that age, what do you want to be when you grow up, what would you have said, or what did you say?
I wanted to be a figure skater because I liked Michelle Kwan and the dresses.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I can see there's some connection there. And so then as you're getting older, how are you finding you're spending your time as you get a little into high school and like looking ahead towards the future? What are your interests at this point?
So going in towards high school, somewhere along the way I developed coordination. And then I became a little bit more balanced between athletics and creativity. But I was, that student that's doing it all, the AP classes, the sports, the volunteering, being like Mother Teresa and just doing it all. So I was doing it all. And then I graduated high school and I went to Berkeley where I studied landscape architecture and sustainable design.
You did? You went to Berkeley to study that? Huh. And where did that come from?
I really care about the environment. That's something that's still dear to me. Actually, after this, I'm doing a garden club.
Nice. Okay.
So, I was always passionate about sustainability. I even started a club back in high school. We would do beach cleanups around the area.
Huh. And was there any inkling of wanting to perform, be an actress, be a model at that point? Or did it seem like...
At that point, I honestly believed I was ugly. Looking back at photos, I wasn't, but I was one of the first kids of color in my neighborhood, and so I was bullied a lot growing up. So for me, the thought of being a model or actress wasn't even in my mind, except when I was a senior in high school. I remember I was swimming, because I swam a lot, because I surf, and so I was swimming, and there was this woman at the pool who asked me, "Have you considered modeling?" And I just laughed. I was like, "What? No, I'm a nerd. What do you mean?" And that was the first time that it popped into my brain.
Huh. And that was partly because you just didn't see a pathway forward for someone who looked like you. There wasn't any... No models
There weren't
of
any
success.
Indian women in pop culture. There weren't any Indian women on posters. It was, I grew up in a very... predominantly Caucasian, Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yeah.
I've been in Italy for too long. Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister models who all look the same.
Yeah.
Now they look different, but when I was growing up, I didn't see anybody like me on TV.
So it wasn't anything that you really seriously entertained because of that reason?
No, because I just couldn't. It sounded nice, but I just couldn't picture it. And so I was very linear. And I was like, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna get a good job. I'm gonna be a CEO one day, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So you go to Berkeley and
Yeah.
you're studying landscape architecture. And how are you finding it? How are you finding just your own personal growth there? What are you
Berkeley was interesting because I grew up in a very relaxing area of Southern California. So for me, Berkeley was kind of a pop of the bubble because here in SoCal we have a bit of a bubble. It's very nice, it's very curated, it's very manicured. And Berkeley, all of a sudden, there's all these hippies running around.
That's like the stereotype, right? And that was true
It's
for
true.
you?
They're
Yeah.
we have this hallway called Sproul Hall, which is the center. Have you been to Berkeley?
Just kind of passing through on the way to San Francisco, like just a little bit, but
Yeah.
not the actual university.
Okay, so basically, Berkeley was the start of the free speech movement in the 60s.
I have heard that.
And that is still very prevalent in today's culture. But it's a weird mix because you have these old hippies and you have people who, I don't know, did an acid trip back in the 60s and they just never got out of it.
They're still tripping.
Yeah, they're still tripping. There's this one guy who's dressed up in aluminum foil and pretends he's a dinosaur. He's always there.
Huh.
And then you have these brilliant students from all over the world. So it's a weird hodgepodge of people.
I was going to say there's a bit of like a Silicon Valley influence, or at least like a pipeline to some
Yes,
Silicon Valley.
definitely.
And so it is a contrast,
It's
right?
a huge contrast. And then it's also part of Berkeley's very nice. Part of it's super gritty and grungy and kind of sketchy. And then I was going to Oakland and San Francisco for internships. So being on BART, for example, the public transport, it's not quite different from what I grew up with.
Yes, yes.
Lots of characters.
Yes, but are you finding that you're taking to it, that you like being
So,
out of
Yeah,
where you grew up?
it was a huge growing experience. It was challenging at times. I actually was architecture for a bit, but I felt like it was such a toxic environment at Berkeley that I switched to landscape architecture, and I felt like those are more my people. Just to give you an example, in architecture, we were up all night, red eyes, and my friend next to me was becoming an alcoholic. He had a handle of whiskey in his desk, which is just absurd. And then when I went to the landscape architecture studio, which was just a floor above, people were wearing socks and Birkenstocks and drinking chlorophyll out of mason jars and watercoloring. And I thought, I like this.
Yes.
So I guess circling back, I've always been creative. And then but it was creative in a different sense. Then I was imagining landscapes and parks. And I didn't actually enter the modeling industry and a bit of commercial acting as well until 2020, until COVID happened.
Okay. So as you're going through Berkeley, where are you thinking that this is going to lead to?
And I don't know if this is just an everyone experience at that age or if it's very much a first generation immigrant mindset, but parents go from America, or parents leave India, come to America. They get their degrees, they work hard, and so the kids can do good. So I grew up, it wasn't like an option. It was just what's expected of. It's the least I can do.
Right.
The least
Get a
you can
degree
do
in something
is go to
practical.
like the best school, get a great degree, get a good job.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
I see.
And then
So-
I got a job in a landscape architecture firm.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
okay.
actually, I first designed zoos. That was just the first job I got
Is that as
out of.
interesting as it sounds? That sounds really cool.
It was cool. It was kind of sad because despite working hard to give the animals the best of the environment that I could have given them, at the end of the day, an elephant isn't supposed to be in a confined space. A Malaysian tiger isn't supposed to be in a concrete pool. So, yeah, it was cool, but I didn't last very long there. And then I started working designing sustainable net zero energy developments. And actually, not far from here, I was working on a net zero energy community in Valencia, I
Oh
believe.
yeah, yeah. That's just down the street.
Yeah.
Okay, how funny.
Yeah, so that was what I was doing, and I was on track to become a project manager, and then the next thing, and just climbed the little ladder.
Uh huh.
And then I got laid off.
And
The
then you
end.
got laid off. Okay,
Then I got
so
laid off. COVID happened, and boom.
okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, it's funny that you say that about zoos because I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and so we've gone to 2 zoos, so San Diego, no, Santa Barbara, and then Los Angeles Zoo. And I hadn't gone since I was a kid, and I did come away feeling this is a little sad.
Yeah.
Just seeing these animals like this and saying, "Hey, look!" You're holding her up to the fence, and it felt a little weird as an adult. And so I understand what you're saying.
As a kid, it was so magical. I
Sure.
remember I have amazing memories at the San Diego Zoo. But then when you go and see it as an adult, you have a little bit more knowledge and you're like,
Or empathy for the animal
yeah,
and the
empathy.
kid, and
And
it's a little odd.
yeah.
But so okay, so up until COVID, you're on this track.
Yeah.
You get laid off. Obviously, that's
I
unexpected,
get laid off. I have a massive panic attack.
right?
Because that was not the plan. I did everything according to plan, and that was not to plan. So yeah, I like just bawled my eyes out for a day, and I was so embarrassed and ashamed too. Even though looking back on it, it had nothing to do with me. There was a global pandemic. I couldn't have avoided that. And I think actually now I don't even think the company I worked for exists anymore. The company still exists, but like the office is just like shut down, doesn't exist anymore. So it ended up being a huge blessing because otherwise I would have had to find a new job anyway. I was going to get laid off anyway.
Yes.
So it's good that I got laid off early because I learned to, what's a word, like reframe? I learned to be like resilient and resourceful very quickly.
It's a very rude awakening
Yeah.
because you're graduating. Up until then, your whole life is a school track.
Exactly.
And then you're like, now I'm in the real world, quote unquote. I have this job based on my degree, and then the rug gets pulled out from under you
Exactly.
in a year.
And I had done everything that I was supposed to do. I graduated high school with a 4.5, something ridiculous GPA. Then graduated college with nearly straight A's. Have a solid, serious boyfriend. Go move out of college, move in with this college sweetheart. Work the stable 9 to 5 job. And, I'm doing everything right. And then all of a sudden,
Now it's forcing you to kind of take inventory a little bit of your own life and figure out, okay, what now?
exactly.
And what did you decide?
This was an interesting time. Being the Berkeley kid, I was like, well, the logical thing now is to learn how to code. So I started learning how to code because I was like, coders have jobs.
Yeah, everyone's at home. You can do it from home,
Yeah.
right?
So I started learning how to code, and I was sitting at my kitchen just coding, and I learned several languages, and then I began designing websites for people to make money. And I also still had friends in the industry, so I was freelancing, designing websites. I was designing landscapes, like gardens still.
So you learned coding well enough to design websites and make money off it. Did you have any
Yeah.
sort of foundation like that before?
No, I just
Really?
I just used the internet.
You just but you make it sound so easy, but it's not. But that's
Oh,
interesting.
I did take one HTML and CSS class in college.
Wow.
Because my parents gave me shit. They were like, "What do you mean you're like learning about sustainability? Like, what even is that?"
Learn something practical.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because both of my parents were engineers, so
Okay. So yeah, you
like,
had to give
fine,
them
I'll take a
something.
coding class.
Right. Wow. And so you pick it up quick, and this is how you're kind of making money.
Exactly.
During
It's how
the
I
early
survived. So I'm
pandemic.
doing that, and then I was hungry because I was working basically in my kitchen in this tiny apartment by the beach. So then I started making pancakes, and I was thinking one day, and this is a whole other segue, but in the midst of this, I also started a CPG brand. So I had a superfood pancake and waffle mix brand. And so I did that, but I was on the computer all the time because I was working on my e-commerce store. I was working on these websites. I was working on landscape architecture stuff. And I was on a run and I was just thinking, my neck and back hurts. I don't want to be on the computer all the time. And I'm such a people person. What can I do? Like, and then I thought, it like bing, like the little voice went in my mind of that lady from years ago at the pool. Have you considered modeling? And so I got home from my run and I sat down. I just Googled modeling agencies and I applied kind of for shits and giggles, just for fun. And then I heard back right away. I got signed to my first agency and I had a commercial with Hyundai and
A commercial what?
with Hyundai,
Oh,
the car
okay. The
company.
car
That was my
company.
first job ever.
Wow.
And then I quickly realized that I was making more money as a model and actress than I was working for a very long time on these landscape architecture projects and these websites. So then I just started putting more effort into my modeling and acting stuff.
Yeah.
And
And and did you find obviously that you're finding that you're good at it, but did you like it? Was it
I
fulfilling?
loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it because you're always meeting cool people, other like-minded creative minds, people who are thinking outside the box. Everyone in the industry kind of has an interesting story and interesting background.
A lot of people come at it from different sides, or
Exactly.
there's no one way that people kind
Yeah.
of grow.
Yeah, and I was traveling a lot for it, and no day was the same, and then it was an incentive also to be healthy.
Right.
And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And
Yeah.
so I kept my big girl job stuff on the side as like a backup, but then when it was like 2022 now, like 2 years later, that was my main source of income, was modeling and acting.
That's huge. And what were your engineering parents? What did they think about this career shift? Did they understand it at first?
In the beginning, not really. But then I did a shoot where I made like 5K from the shoot, and then they're like, huh, okay.
Maybe this
So
is real.
maybe she's making, like, maybe this is like a legit thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Once they see, okay, maybe you can kind of support yourself this way after all.
Yeah. And so
Yeah. So
I,
you're saying you want to continue with this and keep going.
exactly.
And so you're modeling, you're doing shoots, you're doing commercial auditions, things like
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Okay. What kind of projects are you going in for?
I did in California, and I have a very relatable lifestyle look. So I
It's
was
interesting.
getting,
Is that, I
yeah,
guess that's like a modeling term. Like, is that?
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. Well, it depends because in Europe I've developed more of a like chicer high fashion look, but in California I'm cast for a lot of relatable stuff.
Interesting.
So I would do hotel like hospitality stuff, food and beverage.
Huh.
What else? Also like pharmaceutical stuff, which pays really well. What other? I feel like I did a lot of different
Yeah.
big range.
Yes.
Of
Which is
stuff.
great.
Yeah, anything from promo modeling to which is like the girls who were like the hot girls at the events,
Right.
where you see like the rich old men and then there's like those girls in like black cocktail dresses. Yeah, I did like that.
Yeah.
And then I've also done runways, but
Okay.
Yeah,
Now
a
I'm
lot.
curious because you didn't have a background in this, but just like coding, did you seem to pick it up really quickly? Were there
Yeah.
like learning curves for you of like, oh, do this, or things that were like difficult
Yes.
for you to kind of?
Well, one learning thing was, but it's not rocket science, right? Like it's pretty straightforward, but
Yeah.
something I learned quickly was just how to do poses and different facial expressions. and also just like not to pose, like just being yourself, being authentic. I mean, it depends what you're doing. If you're doing editorial, yes, you need to pose. But if you're doing commercial, they just want to see you doing different expressions and kind of being yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I guess, knowing what to do and what not to do depending on the context of the project.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
How to like you always hear actors think about like, what do I do with my hands, or what do I do with my arms, or like am I standing awkwardly, but you just work through those things and you kind of pick it up as you go along with that.
And I learned how to audition. I learned how to do self tapes. I learned that a lot of this is probably for any industry, but networking is really important in this industry. A lot of work just comes from who you know.
Yeah. And what did that look like for you? How did you go about networking? Because that's, being a writer, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
like, it's just so important.
For example, when I would be on a shoot and I would befriend other talent, we would like trade agencies. So it would be like, oh, you have a San Francisco agency, I have a San Diego agency. Let me help you. Let me set you up with my San Diego agency. And then like you help me get into your San Francisco agency. So lots of helping in that sense.
And so, but you're booking and you're finding that you have a knack for this. And so at that point, where did you see it going?
I was booking, and then at that point I was doing a lot of commercial work, but I was starting to meet other actors who were doing theatrical work as too. And that was always a huge dream of mine. I was like, wow, that would be so cool. And so then I thought, okay, let me start like trying to act in the more theatrical cinema TV sense. But before I did that, before I signed up for, I mean, I did some workshops and stuff like that, but before I signed up for like a full intensive program, I wanted to go to Europe because I was like, I left out a huge thing. I broke up with my college boyfriend and I became a digital nomad, and I was
wait, what's a digital nomad?
A digital nomad is someone
I've heard that,
who like doesn't pay rent. They don't have like one specific apartment. They move around a bit and they're kind of nomadic.
Okay.
And so because I had kept my design work, I was able to go to Hawaii, to Mexico.
So the digital is like your work.
Exactly.
Essentially. You could, okay.
You can work from anywhere. You can live anywhere.
Yes.
But of course, I could only do that to an extent because at the end of the day, like when I am working on set, I have to be on set.
Right.
So it would have looked like my life was actually very crazy at that time. I was like popping all around. I would be in Seattle working, and then I would get a call from my agent, we need you in San Francisco, and I'd fly down to San Francisco, and then I'd find an Airbnb or sleep on a friend's couch, or it was very tumultuous, but exciting because
every day is different, like you said.
Every day was different, and I just didn't feel ready to lock into another contract and another very linear, kind of boring lifestyle.
Like stay put, do this every day.
Exactly. I was like, I just got the sense of freedom. I want to explore this a bit.
Yeah.
And so then I booked a one-way trip to Europe, and I went. And my idea was that I was going to come back, get an apartment in San Diego, and take an acting course there, and then start like really focusing on entering the more TV and cinema side of things. But then I fell in love, and now I live in Italy, and that kind of threw a wrench in the plans.
Yes. And so it's funny, when you first got in contact with me, like we kind of got in contact randomly. And then when I read about, I'm like, oh, who's this person? And I'm like, oh, this is so interesting. So I purposely haven't like read too much into it because I'm like, I want to hear this for the first time here. But I'm like, I know enough to be like, oh gosh, this is so. So tell me, you go to Europe, and then how do you end up in Italy, and how do you meet your future husband, your husband now?
I was working on set in San Diego, and I got bored And so then I booked this trip to Europe. But I don't know like where I'm staying. I have like nothing planned. I just know that I'm going by
Are you with?
myself.
I was gonna say with a friend. No, by
No, I
yourself.
wanted to go by myself. And I wanted to just kind of brood at cafes. I wanted to walk. I wanted to journal. I wanted to sketch. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to go dancing and just see where the wind took me. So I get a text from like a Hinge date that I hadn't talked to in months. He texted me out of the blue, kind of like, "How you doing?" He didn't sound like Joey from Friends, but I just like have that voice in my mind. And so, yeah, we'll call him Joey. So Joey although Joey was Italian, but whatever. We'll call him Joey. So Joey texts me, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm going by myself to Europe. You're from Italy. Like, do you know anybody in like Milan or Paris? Those are two cities I know I'm going to." And he goes, "Yeah, for sure. I do. I have a close friend in Paris. So he connects me with his friend." I text the friend, "Hi, Joey referred me to you. I'm going to be in Paris. Would love to meet for a coffee." We end up not meeting up because I had met a music producer and we ended up going on tour and it was like this whole other thing. But so I was busy.
You're busy. You're like, hold on.
I did not have availability to meet in Paris.
Yes.
And then I ended up going to Milan. I'm house sitting. Do you know the app Trusted House Sitters?
Trusted house sitters. No.
I loved it. It was really helpful during my nomadic time because essentially it's like Airbnb, except you're not paying for the home. You're offering a pet owner a service. So basically, in this case, I was in Milan and I was staying in this cute apartment and I didn't have to pay for it, but I was just watching this lady's cats. This lady went to Greece and I'm
So it's
watching
a
this
nice
lady's cats.
exchange.
Yeah, it's a nice
You have a place to
exchange.
stay and you're kind of keeping up what they need to. It's cool.
It's really cool and it's nice because you get to kind of experience living like a local because you have responsibilities.
Right. I got a routine.
Yeah, you got a routine.
Huh.
So yeah, I was in Milan, and then this friend, we'll call him I don't know, pick a name, any name.
Kevin.
All right. These like very standard white names for like
I don't
these
even know what
Italians.
Kevin. Yeah,
All
that's right.
So Kevin.
Joey, Kevin.
Joey and Kevin. So Kevin texts me and he's like, "Oh, you're in Italy. Come down south. You know, like the south is way better than the north. Vieni al sud." And he invites me to a party because he is turning 30. He's having his birthday party and all his friends are coming from around. They're meeting up and then they're going.
How did you know that guy that texted you?
Kevin is the friend of Joey.
The one that he wanted to set you up with?
Yeah.
Or no? Okay,
yeah, exactly.
okay.
The one
okay.
you wanted to set me up with, but
Got
we didn't meet up in Paris.
Because of the music producer.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, why would you invite me to your party? We don't know each other. Why are you inviting me to your birthday party? Don't you want to like be with your friends? Why are you inviting some random chick? And he just goes, "Why not?" So I'm thinking, all right, I'm freshly single. I'm like just exploring. Italian men aren't hard on the eyes. I've never been to southern Italy. Why not? So I go down to southern Italy after doing my whole other like Italy tour. Eventually make it down south. And I end up meeting this awesome group of people and I end up falling in love with Kevin's best friend.
Kevin's best friend.
Yeah.
What is his
Marco.
name?
Marco I can say because that's my husband.
That's right. The real name, Marco.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. All right. So at this point, you're in Europe. How long?
A couple months.
A couple months.
Yeah.
Really? A couple months?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I must have been, let's say, I got there June. This is July. Yeah, it's probably like my second month.
Second month.
Yeah.
You're at this party. You meet Kevin's friend, which is Marco.
Yeah.
And then, and what year are we talking about now?
This is 2022.
2022.
A lot happened in 2022.
Yes.
2022 is when I like broke up with boyfriend, moved out of apartment, was doing the digital nomad thing, went to Europe by myself, meet future husband all in 2022. And I also moved to Italy that winter.
That winter. Okay. I think it's cool that you decided to go to Europe by yourself because then you're kind of forced to mix with people that you,
Exactly.
if you had a friend with you or whatever, you would kind of probably stay close together and you wouldn't be as motivated to just
Yeah.
like, well, it's either join this party or be alone. Let me just
Yeah.
do it. Who cares? Let me try it.
Yeah. You really
Yeah.
put yourself in experiences that you wouldn't have if you were with friends. And
Yeah.
these experiences could be good or bad, but they're definitely gonna broaden your horizons. So
Absolutely. I like that you indirectly met your husband through Hinge. It kind of began on because my wife and I met on Hinge. That's why I'm like, yeah, Hinge.
what is your meet cute?
Well, she. So I. The short story is this is also. I should know. Was it 2022, 2023? What year are we in? Yeah, I think it was 2022. I was at a friend's wedding party, and in San Clemente,
Oh,
and
love
it was like LA friends wedding, people in the fellow writer in the industry, and I had downloaded the app. I was single for a few months, downloaded the app like a couple months before, never activated it, was too afraid, too like, "Oh, I'm going to look stupid. I've never done this. Like, and I was at the party and I got a hotel that night because I was like, oh, I'm going to drive down here. I'll have a nice breakfast. So I said, okay, before I drive home tomorrow morning, I'm going to turn on the app at breakfast. So I had breakfast by myself and I'm like finishing my profile. I turned it on. And then 6 days later, I connected with my wife.
Wow.
And she had downloaded it a couple days. She was off and on. She was kind of like tired of the app and not high hopes and connected. We talked on the phone and then had dinner. And she was like, I'll go for free food. I'm not
Yeah.
expecting much. We ended up talking for 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
It was easy. That was the thing. It was
Yeah.
just easy. And then we went out second night, next day. We went out that Friday. We were in contact every day. It was just completely unforced. And the easy stuff was easy. That was like, and neither of us played games. And so it was just like, here we go. Like, it was just, it was effortless in that way. And so, but at least for Hinge, it was like in my own case, just getting out of my comfort zone and trying something new and being like, might look stupid, but who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best things happen when you're out of your comfort zone.
Totally. Yes. And so your first impression, how did you react?
This is also an interesting story. Essentially, I was cooking pasta, really bad pasta. It was now I'm gotten much better at cooking pasta, but yeah, I was cooking quite shitty pasta with my friend Kevin in his dad's home, and I'm by myself at the stove, and then I hear a voice, and I look up, and I'm like, my heart just stops. I see who's now my husband, but a stranger. He walks in through the door, and he's kind of backlit by the door, and it's summer in Italy, so he also has like a bit of a glow, like kind of sweaty, but it like looks good going. And so he's glowing, he's backlit, he has curly hair, and so it kind of looks like he has a halo, and he's really sharp blue eyes, and he's tan. I was like, whoa! And so I see him, he sees me, and I just stutter. I'm like, you look hot. Do you want some water? And that was the first thing I said to him. And he acted so suave and cool. But I found out months later that he planned for that to happen because he was behind the scenes. He was pulling the strings and having Kevin invite me to the party, because basically what happened was Kevin had told Marco, like, hey, I'm talking to this girl, and Marco's like, let me see her Instagram. And so then Kevin shows Marco my Instagram. And Marco is also recently single, and he just like had a feeling that he needed to meet me. And so he told Kevin, he's like, I need to meet her, like invite her to the party. Like, you need to make sure she comes. And I was kind of on like the fence. I wasn't sure if I was gonna come, but I only decided like 48 hours before that
Yeah.
I was going to come. And
Little
yeah,
did you know
little
that
did
this
I
was like
know. It
orchestrated
was
behind this.
orchestrated.
Huh.
But yeah, so Marco walks through the door. He pretends that he doesn't know who I am, even though he very much knows who I am. And then he asks me out on a date that night. And we go on our first date the next day. He takes me out on Bridget Bardot's boat. The boat then catches like steam. It starts smoking. So we turn back. We hop on another boat. He takes me on a beautiful tour. We fall in love. We make out. It's like something out of a movie. And then the next day, he tells, so 48 hours after meeting, he says, I love you. And we're in the Amalfi Coast outside this club called Music on the Rocks in Positano. A very cool scene. Have you been to?
Not Italy.
No?
I've been to
Okay.
France and the south of France, but
Okay.
not Italy.
Okay.
No.
Well, yes, you should go.
But I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the way you're painting this picture is like
Yeah,
amazing.
it was just a whirlwind of a week. It didn't feel real. And then I was supposed to go to Spain, but I canceled my trip and I stayed in Naples with Marco and his family home, and we got to know each other a bit better. And then that week, I closed my dating app. I texted my sister, hey, I met my husband, and she told me I was insane. And then I went home, and then he booked a flight and came to California like almost immediately.
So you went home, and then he booked a flight to come visit you.
Yeah.
Did you? And why did you decide to go home and not stay a little bit longer?
Oh, so I had to. My grandfather had just died, and so I had to go home and like help out with stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just be with family.
Exactly. I had to be with family. And when I was leaving Italy, I was so happy that I had met him, but heartbroken and afraid that I would never see him again. But I said to myself, okay, I'm pretty sure I just met the man I'm going to marry, which sounds crazy because before that I was kind of cynical. I never believed in love at first sight. I didn't know if soulmates really existed. But I was like, if he comes to California, like, I'm done. It's my sampling phase of men, we'll call it, is over.
There is something the same happened with my wife and I where people, her sisters, whatever, telling us, oh, it's too soon to move in together or this or that. But there's something about you just kind of know.
You just know.
And you don't feel like you're forcing anything. You're just kind of letting it happen and not getting in your own way. And so that's really interesting that you just had this inkling and that you kept it alive.
Yeah, and then when I didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back at it, there were a lot of like weird synchronicities. For example, he had met my best friend's family in California like years before he and I had met, and it was just he used to work selling slushy machines, and so he was on a business trip in California.
Oh, so he had gone to the States before.
Yeah, he had been to the States before, and so he was just telling me about. He's like, "Oh yeah, I've been to California before, and I was here like selling these slushy machines on a business trip, and then I met this company, and I went to like the owner's home, and I'm like." You went to Uncle Kevin's house?
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really weird. And then I read this because I love to journal and it helps me process my dreams and my goals and my thoughts. And so I was reading my journal after I had met Marco, and I was also like writing like pros and cons lists of like, should I date this man? Like pros, or like, what if I don't? Like, do I move to Italy? What if I stay in California? And so I was going through this list. And then I flipped the page and I found a passage from earlier that year where one of the prompts I had written was, what is my dream partner? And I'd written a full page and I read it, and it was a physical and character description of Marco. It was very weird. And so I sent it to him. I was like, hey.
My wife did the same thing. She had a letter that she wrote to her future self about what she wanted a marriage to look like and her partner, and that the same kind of putting it out in the universe.
It sounds really woo-woo, but there's something to it. There's something to it.
Interesting. So he comes to visit you, and then that is your family's first time meeting this guy from Italy who has kind of captured your heart. What are they thinking?
My dad was in India at the time because after my grandfather died, he had to run to India because my grandmother almost immediately died after that. So it was a whole thing. So he was there. My sister was in the UK. My mom was at home and needed help. And so I rushed home to be with my mom. And then Marco came and I at first my mom was like, well, we need to tell your dad. And I'm like, Mom, dad just lost his father and he's in India. He almost lost his mother. If you tell him that a random Italian man is with us in our home, you're going to kill dad. So, but I'm like, I need to see Marco because this might be my husband. And if I don't see him, like, I'm never going to know. And like, I'm going to be heartbroken. So my mom was the goat, the greatest of all time, and allowed Marco to come. And we were all together. We didn't tell my dad or my sister, but the deal was that we would tell them like when things were calmer. So then Marco goes back to Italy and my dad comes home from India and mom and I are sitting at the table and I tell him, like, at this point he had known that I met someone, but we're talking about this guy. I was like, yeah, so dad, like, you know, when I was on my trip, I met this guy and he's incredible. Dad's like, oh yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I was like, and he came here and like, wow, you were in India. And he's like, I was expecting him to have a massive blowout, like anger response. But I think because he had just gone through so much loss, his like response, his like threshold was like so much like higher for stress now, and he just didn't have like energy to waste on like little things. So he just looks up calmly and he's like, and does your mom like him? And mom's like, he's amazing. And he's like, great, I'm happy to hear that. And he looks at me, is he mafia? I'm like, what? No, no.
Too many movies, Dad.
Yeah. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah.
That's good dad questions.
Yeah.
Gotta suss them out for a minute.
Yeah.
How funny. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that because of what your dad was clearly going through, that maybe he had a different perspective on just his own daughter's life. And
yeah. I think when you go through loss, that big, like losing a parent, it just puts everything into perspective.
Yeah.
Like the little things just don't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he kind of gets that like initial kind of sign off from your family, like, okay, like let's see where this goes.
And so mom and dad are like, all right, like clearly makes you happy. My sister she's my older sister, and so she's always been really protective of me. And so she was like, I think you're being love bombed. And I was like, you can think what you will, but like, no, I'm not. It's pretty serious. And yeah, we just had our wedding last year, and
belated congratulations.
Thank you. And my sister spoke, and she was like, you know, at first I thought you were insane, but clearly, like, you were right.
Yeah. So at what point does this start to get traction as a story? Because I've seen clips of you on like Italian news and like things, and it's like
and CNN.
Yeah. When does this start to like get traction?
So I started just documenting about my life on social media, documenting my journey to Naples, because there's not a lot of American women who go to Naples and like really insert themselves into like Neapolitan life. I think what I've seen is that there's a Navy and like the NATO, but typically the people who are in the Navy or NATO are kind of stay in that circle, like interacting with the Navy and NATO, or there's Italians, like people born and raised from Naples, and they have their circles. And so it's rare that someone goes and is able to insert themselves into the social fabric of both, of the like Neapolitan society and the international community.
Yeah.
And so I think that was interesting for both people from Italy and abroad to see.
Right.
And then journalists started reaching out to me. And yeah, so that's who we are today. This year was really cool. I went on my first like Italian TV segment, and
I think I saw that.
in Rai, yeah, I went to the Rai headquarters, which is like Italy's national news network in Milan.
Yes.
And they actually reached out to me again recently. They're like, "Can you like do another thing for us?" But I just wasn't available. But anyway,
that's amazing.
It was cool. Yeah, and CNN reached out and other things, but those are the biggest ones so far.
A lot of people wondering, how can I do that? How can I go to Italy, fall in love, live there? And that's so interesting. So can you walk us through like a typical day now? Because obviously you're here in Los Angeles, you kind of go back and forth, but are you based full time mostly?
Yeah,
in
right now I'm there for the majority of the time.
Yeah.
It started off 50-50 and now it's more like 80-20.
Over there, 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm there more. I'll wake up. I like to wake up like fairly early. Here in California, I wake up at 6:30. In Italy, though, everything's a little bit later, so I'm waking up at like 7:30. And then I do my meditation. I do EFT tapping.
What's that?
Which is, it's a modality that you tap on certain acupuncture points in the body. And as you're tapping, you're saying affirmations or things that are helping you release blockages. And it's all about promoting the flow of energy and releasing any blockages. So I do a quick EFT tapping session. I like Tap with Brad. I call him Tap Daddy Brad. So I like him. And I might do like 10 minutes of Qigong just outside to get sunlight and, again, the flow of energy through my body. So then at that point, I'm like, all right, I'm like a good person and I'm happy and I'm ready to face the outside world.
Yes. And are there things that now that you've been living there that you've learned about yourself that you've kind of discovered over your time there?
I've learned that there's really like nothing I can't do. I've learned that whenever I say I want something, I want to do something, I'm pretty good at following through and making it happen. For example, there is this social club there, and it's from the 1920s. It's pretty much all old Italian men, and like Toto used to hang out there.
Who's that?
A famous Italian actress.
Oh,
or
okay.
actor. Famous Italian actor, Toto. Who else would also hang out there? Sophia Loren hung out
wow.
there. Yeah, so it has a really interesting history. And I was like, it'd be really cool to be part of this. I want to be part of that. And yeah, I made it happen. And so now that's like the next part of my morning routine after I do my meditation and mindfulness stuff. I typically go to the club and I do my swim workout. I'll swim in the pool and then I'll jump in the sea. And when I'm in the sea, I look up at the sky and I just say 3 things I'm grateful for. And then I go and I have my coffee. And while I'm having coffee, I'm meeting people. And I just feel like it's really important to grow your network. And when I'm meeting people, I'm not like meeting them to network. I'm not like, it's not coming from a business point of thing. It's just like I want to know. I like people.
Yeah.
And so I just want to know more people.
And these are
and talk to
locals
people.
living there. That's also
these are the other members of the club.
Got it. And that's a way for you to just feel more at home, right?
Exactly.
When you have your routine, you have people that you see regularly.
Exactly.
It's just, okay. And do you ever get homesick?
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
You do. And that helps go back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when it's feeling like too much, then I'll book a flight and I'll come home.
Yes.
But I don't come home very often. I'll get homesick and I'll just tell my husband I need a hug. and I'll FaceTime my family. And I find going in the sea always helps me.
Yes.
And so then after I've done this very long lollygagging morning routine where
Is
I'm
that
just
very Italian, like style morning routine? Like kind of slow start, like it.
yeah, yeah. I think it depends like where you live and what your job is. Obviously, if I had a 9 to 5, I couldn't do that.
Right.
But because I have a very non-traditional work, I
Yes.
can do that.
Yeah.
And then I will like after I've chatted it up, then I'll sit and I'll like go through emails and I'll respond to clients or agents or whatever. And then I go home and in the afternoon I'm typically working. It can be filming content or if I have a shoot, that's usually like an all day thing. Um, or I might be working on my blog or writing an email newsletter or editing videos, stuff like that typically.
Yeah. It's interesting because you started off at the beginning of our conversation using the word linear a lot.
Oh,
Like it was very much your life, and it was almost predetermined in a way where of course you were going to go to a great school and of course you were going to, and then it took this huge left turn. And do you feel like now that this is fulfilling in a way that just
oh yeah, I love it.
yeah, this suits you, but you had to kind of find it,
Exactly. I had to create it for myself
create
because
it. That's a great,
when I came to Italy, that on my pros and cons list, one of my big fears of moving to Italy was that I was going to have to give up on my dreams here in LA because I was like I can see myself being famous and being an actress. I can see myself on the screen. I can see myself going to these galas. But like I'm meant to be somebody. I want to be somebody. And if I go to Italy, I don't want to just be a wife. I don't want to just be a stay-at-home mom with like little kids. I mean, yes, I do want to have children in the future and they're going to be beautiful, but that's not my sole purpose. I want to do other things as well. I want to make a name for myself. And then once that's done and I'm stable in my own career, then I can start thinking about a family. But
yes.
if I just go as this guy's girlfriend and then we get married and then we have kids, I'm going to feel so sad and like just heartbroken and that like a huge dream of mine just was not accomplished.
Just don't leave it on the table like that. You're
Yeah.
not, yeah. That's, can you talk anything about the TV series that's in development?
Yeah. Okay. So, I guess the reason why I brought up this dream is because it turned out that for me moving to Italy ended up being a huge opportunity because now brands are paying me significantly more than I was making as a landscape architect. Last week, I got paid to go to Rome, and I was at the Roman Forum, and I was just having like filming myself going around Rome, and I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is so cool.
Amazing. Yes.
But and I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was here in America. And it's also given me cool subject matter. And so I'm working on 2 TV series right now. I'm working on an unscripted TV series and a scripted TV series. The unscripted TV series is, without giving away too much, is essentially discussing a mixture of lifestyle and real estate, a bit of like La Dolce Vita, but also like construction, like home stuff in Italy. And
Cool.
that I'm really excited about because I signed with like I have my executive producer here in LA. So someone believed enough in me and my story and I've already made the sizzle and the deck, and they believe in it so much that they want to put themselves on the project. And so we have a contract, and right now they are shopping it,
Cool.
and we're looking for a home for it,
Yes. Yes.
basically,
Amazing.
which is awesome.
Yeah. And then, and what's the
Because
other?
the other one is, I mean, it's a dramatized version of my own life.
I was going to say, it's a no brainer to take
Yeah.
your life and adapt it, right?
Exactly. But it honestly doesn't even need to be that dramatized because
It's already,
it's already very dramatic. A
Yeah.
lot happened, and
Yes.
I've been like kind of playing it low, but a lot happened, and so that one is the project. I'm so excited about it, And I am currently, we also have filmed the sizzle. I've made the deck, and I've already like written out the 3 seasons and the episodes for each season. I haven't written like the full episodes, but I've just
Right.
written like the
Like
what
where it's
each
going.
episode, yeah, like the description of each episode. And I'm looking for a home for it right now. I'm
Great.
networking. I'm trying to find and create my Avengers team of people who believe in the project and would be interested in working on it with me.
Yes.
And so that one is very much in development, and I need people.
Yes. That's amazing. Well, I feel like you'll find plenty of people who want to talk to you
Yeah,
about it because it
yeah.
just seems like, of course, like,
It's fun. It's kind of a mixture between Never Have I Ever and Emily in Paris. So it's funny, it's chaotic, it's sexy, it's
yes,
cringe,
yes.
it's good.
It sounds authentic. It sounds
Yeah,
honest too.
yeah. I've had people already approach and ask like if they could invest in it, and I've had like different writers tell me that they're interested in working on it with me. So that's cool.
Yes.
But it has a lot of room to go
Yeah,
still.
of course. But
It's in
that,
the early phases.
yeah, that's super exciting. Talking to a lot of people will look at your story and, of course, see it as total wish fulfillment, right? Like this amazing thing. Is there anything that you wish you knew before having gone through this experience where, yes, it's been amazing, but it's like, ooh, I wish I knew this thing?
Yeah. So I it took me a long time. It wasn't until last year that I really decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to own this. Like, I want to be, I want to be famous. I want to be creative. I want to be in front of a camera. I want to be an actress and creator. I want to be influential to other women. And so it wasn't until last year that I was like, I want to do this, and I don't have space to work on projects that don't bring me fulfillment and don't bring me joy. So up until last year, while I was consistently working towards this goal, I still was doing landscape stuff on the side. I was still doing like random jobs that were taking time away from what I wanted to be doing. And I felt like I was on a treadmill or in quicksand, and I felt like there weren't enough hours in the day, and I was putting a bunch of time into doing. I was trying to do the smart thing, the stable thing, while like keeping up with the skills I learned in school, even if it wasn't bringing me fulfillment, and I was getting really frustrated, and I was working late at night, and I was like, I am not where I want to be yet, and I feel like I am not going to be able to go where I want to go if I'm still doing this. And then I heard an interview with Lana Del Rey, and she was saying that in order, she believes, and I believe this now very much, for in order to achieve something that you really want to achieve, in order to achieve a certain opportunity, you have to lock the doors to the other opportunities, lock the doors to the other things, and throw away the key. In the sense that, like, you are kind of telling the universe, you're like, I believe in myself enough to fully commit to what I want to be doing, and I don't need to be saying yes to all these other things. So it wasn't until like this year that I finally learned to say like no to things. Saying no to things is so important. And like things that might, for example, a few months ago, I was feeling a little low on cash. Not in the sense, like, I always have my savings and my investments, but it was a low, like, I wasn't having a lot of, like, money coming in. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I got a request from an architect that I worked with a lot. And he goes, "Hey, Amby, how are you? I have an interesting project for you in Newport Beach." like a high-end residential project. Do you want it? And on one hand, I was like, yay, money. But then I immediately felt my heart like clench, like anxiety, immediate anxiety. And I was like, no, like this is not what I want to be doing. Like I'm trying so hard to get out of this like AutoCAD working. AutoCAD is a software that we use. Yeah.
Yes.
Like I don't want to be just like by myself on my computer on AutoCAD working for like other rich people's homes. I want to be the rich person with a home. and like if I'm doing that, that means that's less time that I can be working on bringing my TV series to life. That's less time that I can be working on getting brand deals, on working on my own content, on growing my own brand. And so I said, and this was like one of the first times, I think maybe the only time I've said no as architect. I was like, thank you so much for thinking of me and for the opportunity, but at this time I'm focusing on my career as an actress and content creator, and I wish you the best. And I wasn't sure what he was gonna say, but so nice. He immediately replies and he was like, I completely believe in you. That's awesome.
Aw.
And I was like, okay. And then immediately I signed with 3 agencies. I signed with an influencer agency in New York, in Milan. I signed with an acting agency in Rome for cinema. And I signed with a commercial agency in Milan. And that all happened after I locked and threw away that key.
That's so important.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to say no because you don't always know how the other person's going to take it. And we kind of imagine the worst. And so when they were like, that's awesome and I believe in you, not like, what do you mean no? And you're talking,
It was so,
it's like, oh gosh, why was I dreading it in my head for so long?
and I think really a lot of people, especially in LA, a lot of rising actors are kind of might be embarrassed to admit that like they wanted. I was at least like I was embarrassed because it just sounds like it's so far fetched and it's such a hard industry to make it in, and there's so much rejection that comes with it, and there's so many people who don't make it, and so it might be a defense mechanism that we don't want to say like, yeah, I'm an actor. Like, have I been in an A-list film? No, I will. Like, keep watching. I will get there, but I'm not there yet.
And it's like you look back at the last couple of years; they've already been unlikely, right? Like you've already done things that are hard.
Yeah.
And it's like you could keep doing that, but yeah, it's tough to. It's tempting to like keep everything kind of like, oh, I'll just keep this open just in case. And this
exactly just in case. That's what I was doing.
Right. Oh, that's fascinating.
And it was really hindering me.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is something I ask every guest. It's called the rule I break. So every industry has rules. Some are there for a reason and some are just begging to be broken. So what's a rule in your field that you don't follow or believe in?
I think a lot of people wait to be at a certain level before they approach people, or they wait to be invited into these situations. A lot of people, and women especially, have imposter syndrome where they feel like they're not ready or worthy of certain opportunities or speaking to certain people. And these past few years, I have just like delusionally put myself into these situations where I'm speaking and interacting with people who have a lot more experience than me or more clout, and I feel like you don't need to be invited into these situations. It's so important to just create these opportunities for yourself. For example, I will send LinkedIn requests to people who I have no business sending a LinkedIn request to. The other day I connected with like the CEO of like a really huge production company, like network, and someone would probably be like, you have no business talking to this guy, but these people are happy to speak to me. They're interested to speak to me. They're curious about me. And I think if I had just waited and worked myself up the ring ladder, these opportunities would never come. So I don't know. I don't know how to say
Yeah.
that more eloquently.
No, I think you said it perfectly, because earlier I said something like you have to find it, and this new way to live your life, and
Yeah.
and then you said no, you have to create it.
You have to create
and
it.
I go, ooh, that's an interesting.
I think, for example, a lot of like the traditional actor route is go to an acting school, then sign with an agency, then get your first C-list film, get your next B-list film, get your next A-list film. Like it's still kind of working your way up the ladder, waiting for the casting directors to reach out to you, waiting for the production people. But I don't believe in that at all. I think, yeah, you do need to do the training, acquire the skills, but it's really important to not wait, and it's really important to create these opportunities for yourselves. So this year, like I always wanted to have my own TV series, but I was waiting for like when I would be ready, when someone would approach me. But I realized I just have to create it myself. And so I sat down, I wrote the script and the deck, and I reached out to the video production team, and I cast the other actors, and I orchestrated it all, and then I started reaching out to producers. And I think there's a lot of people who are looking, like waiting for the project. So I don't think actors should be waiting for someone to come to them, waiting for an opportunity to come to them. They really have to go out and create it themselves.
I think that's very well said.
Yeah.
That's great. Before we go, I like to end with a rapid fire round. So 5 questions. You could say as much or as little as you want. What's the last book you read?
Right now I'm reading a book. I'm reading a dog. I'm reading a book called Training the Best Dog Ever. It's all about positive reinforcement with training puppies, because
interesting.
I really would love a puppy. I've always wanted a dog. So I am currently reading on how to be a really good dog trainer. So
Before
that I can
getting
get,
a dog, you're
before
like prepping
getting
yourself.
a dog, exactly.
Nice,
So that I can get my little cute little fluffy companion.
I love it. What's a movie you love rewatching?
The Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan.
Great pick, right?
I love it. I'm actually gonna watch it tonight. There's this cute movie in the park thing going on. I'm gonna go
those
with
are
my
fun.
childhood friends, sit on a blanket, and watch Lindsay Lohan eat Oreos and peanut butter.
Yeah, I love it. If it wasn't this, what's another career field you could see yourself in?
Right now, I can't. I cannot see myself in anything else. Like, this is what I meant to do.
In fact, you
Yeah.
closed all those other doors on purpose.
I closed and locked away like the doors and threw away the keys, shredded them.
That's right.
There is no other. Like, this is what I'm doing. There's no
Yes.
other plan. There's no other like option.
Worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh. You should be a doctor. Well, yeah.
You should be a doctor. You did not follow that.
I did not follow that.
And then finally, best piece of advice you've ever
But
received?
going back, like I'm really grateful that there are people who are doctors.
Yes. Well, you have to be
Please.
true to yourself.
Yeah.
If you feel that's your calling, go for it.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
I would be a terrible doctor. What was the last question?
And then flip it, best piece of advice you've ever received.
Well, obviously Alana didn't tell me this firsthand. I don't think she knows I exist, but I really thought I really stand by that advice that you have to close the doors to the other things that aren't serving you and lock and throw away that key in order to really achieve what you want. And so I feel like that is just a great piece of advice. And if I can give one more advice, I mean, I know I might be like beating the dead horse with this, but someone had told me like life is not linear. it must have been when I was going through like career fairs and stuff, because I remember meeting a lot of people who had careers that were different from what they majored in university. And I was like, why? Like, I'm going to be like working in what I studied. What do you mean you like not working in what you study? And someone told me life isn't linear. And it's true. Like, life doesn't need to be linear.
Ambika, this was such a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you and learn more about who you are. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's been really fun.
Hey, before you go, thank you for listening. If something in this episode moved you or even made you pause for a second, please consider following the show, leaving a review, and signing up for the weekly newsletter at storyseriesPodcast.com. That's where I share my personal takeaways from each episode, what stuck with me and why, one story at a time. See you in the next one.